When there's no more room in hell, the dead will listen to Bloodfest, the podcast.
Hello, and welcome to Bloodfest, the podcast. I'm your host, Nate. Y'all know me, know how I earn a living. Now, I'm going to start by giving everyone a quick little trigger warning tonight. If you look too closely at my face, you'll see my messed up eye because I apparently have pink eye, and it is disgusting. So it kind of looks like I got some sort of zombie virus. So I'm joined tonight, as always, by my good friend, Josh. Josh, how are we doing?
Hey, doing tired, but doing all right. How are you?
I'm pink eyed, so.
Oh yeah.
And sitting in for Casey this week is our friend Lydia. Lydia, how's it going down there?
Doing good. I'm happy to be here. Excited.
And as always, off screen, so that you don't see him and be overtaken with thirst, is our technical director, Joey. Joey, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Happy to be here.
You're so exciting when you do that. All right, so we have an important guest this week, someone who honestly doesn't need much introduction at all, but because I like to talk, I'm going to introduce him. We have Eduardo Sanchez. Everyone knows Mr. Sanchez as one of the writers and directors of the Blair Witch Project, a movie that completely revolutionized not only horror film and filmmaking, but also the way movies are marketed. Since changing the world with Blair Witch, he's made a number of other movies, including Lovely Molly, Exists, Butterfly Kisses, Altered, and he's worked on some of the best TV shows out there. Supernatural, American Horror Story, and the show everybody's talking about right now, Yellow Jackets. I blanked on the name for a sec. Yellow Jackets. Mr. Sanchez, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me. Very happy to be here.
Well, we are all huge fans. We could not believe when you actually agreed to come talk to us. So it made us feel incredibly special. Um,
I
I
thought
want,
Nate was pranking us until just now.
yeah. He was like, he's not going to be here. He's going to show up in a cardboard cutout or something.
No, it's good. I'm happy to be here.
So I, of course, want to start. I'm sure you're sick of talking about it, but I do have some questions about Blair Witch before we get into the things that you're doing in the world now. And the first thing I want to know, and it's something that has bugged me since it happened. You and Mr. Myrick made one of the greatest horror films of all time. You did it with very little money and ended up grossing almost $250 million, I believe. Changed the way that we advertise films, changed everything. And then there was a rush to get a sequel, and they didn't come to the two of you to make it. And I've always wanted to know why. Why did they hand over the sequel to other creators?
Well, first of all, thanks for the kudos on Blair Witch. It was, we were very young and we had nothing to lose, and it was, kind of an experiment that that everything went well with. So, and then as far as the sequel, I mean, it was, uh, you know, uh, it's a complicated story, but I guess I'll make the long story short. It's basically we weren't ready to make another Blair Witch movie at that time, and the an artisan, the company that owned the rights and had bought the movie. Um, they wanted to make a sequel right away, and we felt that was a mistake, and that, we weren't really interested in doing that. It was not something that we were looking forward to doing for a while. We were thinking, we'd like to come back to the Blair thing, but give it a few years and then make something cool. But they were kind of on a different path than us and a different schedule. So they were like, if you guys don't want to do it, then we're going to get somebody else. And, we still want you involved, this and that. And so they paid us some good money, and they definitely, we were like the executive producers, but we didn't really love the way they were going immediately. Like we Blair Witch 2, Book of Shadows. Joe Berlinger did that, made that movie, and we were big fans of his documentary work. And we definitely had faith that Joe was going to make something cool, and it wasn't exactly what we would have done, but it was too rushed. I think the studio kind of didn't really give Joe as much artistic freedom as he wanted, and I don't think he made the movie he wanted to make. The studio didn't let him make the movie. He didn't make the movie they wanted to make. It was just kind of a bit of a mess, and then that killed the franchise for a while. And we've gone back. They actually hired us, Dan and me. They hired us like 10 years ago, maybe a little bit less, to actually write another, like a sequel. And we wrote it, and they paid us, and it was a good script, and they ended up not making it, but we were creatively involved in that, and it was cool. It was a good time to be it was very exciting to be back in that Blair Witch world. And we've tried a few times to pitch them. We've worked with them a couple of times. Lionsgate, which is now the company that owns the franchise, we've worked with them a couple of times on on a TV show, but it just hasn't worked out. So that's kind of the long story. I thought I was going to make it a short story, but I made it a long story. But that's kind of what it is. It was, so it was partly our disinterest, and especially speeding things up so quickly, and then they were just on a different schedule.
So, I have heard rumors that we're getting another Blair Witch movie sometime in the near future. Is that something you're going to be involved with?
If there is another Blair Witch movie, I don't know anything about it, and I'm right now at this moment I'm not involved with another Blair Witch movie. It's just weird. Every once in a while, something comes up about somebody doing a Blair Witch movie and this and that, and I don't know why. I guess I notice it because it's about Blair Witch, and I'm sure they do it on a bunch of other movies too. They just these little kind of rumors that aren't that nobody can confirm. But that one went around like a couple of weeks ago. Somebody was like that they were doing it out, and Dan and I were producing, and Haxon Films was gonna the production company, and it was. I don't know about any of the other details, but the idea of Dan and I producing the movie through Haxon Films is totally, it's not right. First of all, Haxon Films, we don't produce movies anymore, and Dan isn't a part of Haxon Films anymore, so I don't know why he would, come back to, why he would do a movie with Haxon Films. But so it was just a couple of basic kind of errors. So I'm thinking that the rest of it is false as well. But there's just there's just been rumors about a Blair Witch TV show, Blair Witch movies, and this and that, and other than the 2016 movie, there hasn't been anything on the movie or TV side. There has been, there has been there was a really great video game that came out a few years ago, and then there's the Hunt a Killer series that was really fun, and now there's a panic room in Vegas. So I think they know. I think we'll see something eventually. And I would love to be involved, but at this point, it's not happening. At least with me.
Were you pleased at all with the 2016 sequel reboots?
Yes. Yeah. We knew the guys that did it, Simon and Adam, and we had worked with them before, and we knew that they were huge fans. So when Lionsgate, approached us and they're like, "Hey, we're getting these guys. I'm going to write it and this and that." We were really excited.
Yeah.
If anybody, if we had picked any of the filmmakers that we knew, those two guys would have been first in line, because we knew they loved the original, and they were very serious filmmakers, and they were talented, and so yeah, once, and we were involved again as executive producers, and we it was, Lionsgate was cool to include us, because they didn't need to include us, and we gave them some notes on the script, and then The film itself is just like, it's kind of a nightmare. It's not really like an enjoyable film, but I think
Yeah, I
that's what
know.
you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It really is a dark movie, and
Yeah.
I love movies like that. I thought it was really effective, and it really is the first true sequel to our movie. I think Book of Shadows. I don't. It's not that I don't like Book of Shadows. I just feel that like it's not. It's kind of a cousin of Blair Witch.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
doesn't. It doesn't. It's not in the same world as. It doesn't exist in the same world as the Blair
Yeah.
Witch Project.
Right.
So
Yeah.
to me, the first sequel is really the 2016 one. But yeah, I was really happy with it. I was really disappointed when it didn't do as well as we thought it was going to do.
I was really surprised because I went and saw it opening night, and it's punishing. It really is, and I loved that because it's rare for a horror film to get under my skin at this point in my life because I'm 40 years into watching horror films constantly. But there are moments in that where I was gritting my teeth. So I was really shocked that it didn't take off and become a big hit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the kind of the balance, and I've gone way too far with most of my films as well. It's just that there is this, there is, to be commercially successful most of the time, you do have to kind of you can't go too dark.
Yeah.
You can't go to you kind of have to walk a little bit, and you have to, and sometimes as horror filmmakers, it's fine to do that, and sometimes we don't want to do that. And obviously, Adam and Simon did not want to do, a comfortable film, But yeah, I thought it was a good film, and for me, it was very effective. And again, like it was a good follow up to our movie,
Yeah, wonderful. So sticking with found footage a little bit, you did a wonderful, wonderful kind of Bigfoot film called Exists. And now you didn't write that, but you directed it. I was wondering, how did you get involved with that project?
Well, Exists was like, I've been into Bigfoot since I was a kid. I grew up in the 70s, so Bigfoot was like my creature, and it, and I built this, like, I just had this fascination with this thing. And I really believed, and I still don't know exactly. I still don't want to say that I don't believe in Bigfoot, but as a kid, I was like totally convinced that this little strip of woods behind my apartment building, that there was a Bigfoot living there, and I was going to see one eventually. I was going to scare the crap out of me, and it was going to look through my window. It was just that kind of stuff. So and it was all basically, based on watching the Patterson Gimlin film, that shaky kind of creature film, and then Legend of Boggy Creek.
Yeah.
And then all those, like, any kind of Bigfoot documentary in the 70s that show In Search Of, with Leonard Nimoy. To me, like, the idea of like watching something about a real creature just fascinated me, and I love like Loch Ness Monster and UFOs and ghosts, like anything that could be real. I was really like into, like
right, all that cryptozoology stuff.
Yeah,
so fascinating.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Because and the same thing, because to me, like, there's this level of like Alien is a creepy movie, but there's this level of like, okay, it's an alien, it's not, it's not going to affect me in my real life. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, you can kind of pull yourself away from that.
Yeah.
With these, with these cryptic stuff and just like shows like In Search Of, anything like, it was happening in my world. So
Right.
it's like,
Yes.
you're literally like, okay, they're talking about this, but this thing, there's woods there, and people, so there's this, and also the same thing with UFOs. It's like, all right, I'm afraid that these things are going to come visit me and take me away and abduct me. So not that I wasn't scared of like, normal horror movies, but I think the ones that like kind of aim towards like reality really like kind of got under my skin.
Yeah, definitely.
And then, so I just have always wanted to make a Bigfoot movie. And I always felt that like except in a movie like Harry and the Hendersons, which they obviously spent a ton of money on the suit.
No.
I always felt that the Bigfoot suits were kind of lacking. Like they didn't look real,
Right.
not that anybody's really seen, nobody,
Yeah.
there's no photo, there's no photographs of Bigfoot, detailed photos of Bigfoot. But to me, it's like, I want it to look like a human, but I don't want it to look like a human, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I always felt that like if we, if somebody could just spend some good money, you could do like a really creepy Bigfoot. So I
Yeah.
wrote a script years ago about like a $30 million Bigfoot script, and I optioned it, and we had a little bit of success with it, but it never sold. And then I wrote like a $10 million Bigfoot script, and we almost sold that one. And I just got frustrated with like people telling me that I couldn't do a Bigfoot movie. So I was like, let's come up with, and I came up with this idea. I came up with the idea of the cabin, just a very simple, basic kind of horror premise, but inject this creature. And Jamie wrote it, and we kind of co-wrote it together, and you know, and we knew we were going to we wanted to kind of do this found footage thing, but we weren't sure about it. And yeah, eventually we're like, okay, let's just do a found footage. It makes sense. We've seen Bigfoot only in found footage. Like he's like the original star of found footage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Patterson Gimlin film is probably the first found footage movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
So so we decided to make it that way, and we had a great time, and it was just it was a dream come true. I actually have two other Bigfoot, two or three other I have two scripts ready to go, and I have another big script idea. I would love to make like a trilogy of Bigfoot
That would
movies
be
or TV
awesome.
shows
Yeah,
or
that
whatever.
would be awesome.
That would be so awesome.
But so it was, and so I'm really proud of the movie. I'm really proud of the way the creature looks, and and it for me it sold the Bigfoot as like this kind of creature, like kind of the way that Jaws was portrayed in Jaws. Not to compare exists with Jaws. I mean, come on. But the idea of like bringing a creature to life,
Yeah.
I thought we did a good job.
I'm absolutely just a huge fan of that movie, and I think that
Thanks,
Joey,
man.
weren't you saying that you thought it was maybe his second best film after?
Oh yeah, I mean Blair Witch Project has always been one of my favorite movies, just in the sense that I'm into paranormal, into all that stuff. So that's something I could see myself doing. Hearing of a local legend, going out and investigating it. So Exist kind of falls into that same category, and it was brilliant. I loved it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
big fans here.
Yeah.
I wanted to just talk for a little bit. So you have, to a large extent, moved into directing for television, prestige television, which is a term I find interesting. But do you find it to be just very, very different than directing movies?
Well, it's kind of this. It has a lot of similarities because I've only done like not low budget movies to the sense of like really low budget movies, but I've never done like a huge studio movie where I had like seemingly unlimited amounts of money. I've always been working with a tight budget and a tight schedule, so the indie world is it's very fast. You got to shoot at least 5 or 6 pages a day, sometimes more. So you have to be like on your toes, and there's this really, really fast kind of pace to indie filmmaking. And it's the exact same way in television. Like television, you're again also doing at least 6, 7 pages a day. And you have to like keep moving. They never give you enough time. Like it's very, I don't know if maybe Supernatural was the only show I did where they actually gave you enough time, and that was I think because it had been around for so long. It went for, I joined when it was in this 10th year,
Right.
so it went 15 years. So by the time I got there, it was just a very well-oiled machine. Like everybody knew what to write, and what this crews could do, and what the actors wanted to do and stuff. So they definitely made it where it wasn't there were some challenging days, as there always are, but they gave you enough time. And it seems like everybody else, because it's the writers are trying to put as much stuff in there, and we as directors want to give the writers as much of what they want as possible. It's our job is to bring this script to life for them. But you're always trying to push more, so it just seems like they just try to cram so many things into this schedule. So you're kind of running around a lot of times with your head cut off, but in a very like, you know, with your head cut off, but also getting the job done. Like it's a crazy form of chaos. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I fell right in with that, you know, like that pace and just knowing what I want and, you know, being able to like, you know, make decisions very quickly and answer, you know, 1,000 questions a day. But what I love about television is that it just has, you know, I have more variety because I mean, I love horror, but I'm also, you know, I like other kinds of films too and other TV shows and stuff. So I like doing like the stuff that I'm not really known for. Like I find it challenging. And I love the fact that like, you know, it's basically it's about a month, a job for about a month. You go, you prep for about 2 weeks, then you shoot for about 2 weeks, and then you have another week of editing, like 3 or 4 days of editing. So about a month. The money's great. And you're done. Like in an indie movie, I don't know if you guys have ever been, how much you know, or if you guys have ever made your own indie movie, but you are like freaking tied to that movie for at least 3 years, 4 years. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It never ends.
Right.
And it's just nice to be able to say, hey, that's cool. And now a month, 2 months later, there's my episode on you know, on TV. And I can take a picture of my name on the credit list, and you know it's cool, you know, and so I love it. I love working with new people every time, and I love the crews all over. You know, I've shot in Canada and the United States, and I shot earlier this year, I shot in Europe for the first time, and the crews are just great. There's just so much great energy, and there's so many talented people out there. So I feel like. You know, I love the energy that all these creative people are bringing to this, you know, to this episode of television. And I just feel like, you know, I think a lot of people, including myself, like was kind of a snob to television, like especially after Blair Witch, I was like, television is, you know, I don't know what, you know, you kind of, for some reason, a lot of people had this thing against TV because it was like, oh, it's like, that's where actors go to when they can't make it in movies and, you know, this and that. Even though I grew up on television, I mean, like, I love television. I don't know why I was so down on it, but recently, you know, since Sopranos and what HBO has done, and now like it's, you know, there's some Breaking Bad and like Succession. There's like so many amazing TV shows now, and I love that like people, no matter what show it is, you know, people like really respect the work, and everybody's there to do their best job. And there's very few times where I've been on a set where I'm like, man, nobody wants to be here. You know, like, nah, the actors don't want to be here. These people are. You know, sometimes, unfortunately, that happens, but very rarely. Every time, I'm just amazed at like the energy, and I'm like, wow, these people just, you know, they love their work, and it's infectious. So that's what I love about it, also. But also, just again, being done with something, you know, and after a month is kind of a cool thing, and you're done. You put it away, and you have it on your resume, and you know, you can watch it whenever you want. But it's you know, it's cool when you're, you know, from us indie guys that you just work on stuff forever and it never ends, you know.
So do you find it more challenging as far as TV going into you know, a series that's been on for a while and everybody knows everybody? Does that make it a little more difficult, or?
You know, it depends. Like usually shows that are, you know, that have been on for a while. I guess generally speaking, they're run well because they've been on for a while. So it seems like they have. But again, like there are, you know, there's very, like, again, everybody's pretty friendly. Like on Supernatural, you know, like I said, I had been.
That cast and crew is amazing.
Yeah, and also they're like legend. It's like a legendary show. I came in the 10th year, and I was like, what am I gonna do here? Like they've obviously done pretty well without me. So there's like this level of like, oh my God, I hope I don't piss anybody off or whatever. But you know, as soon as you get there, and generally speaking, this is all the shows that, they really do welcome you. There's very,
That's awesome.
people are like, I met on, Supernatural, Jerry Wanick, who's like the production designer.
Mhm.
He came out and greeted me, and he was kind of like my best friend, and hung out, and we're still friends. Like, we still talk to this day. And, so it was very much like a family kind of, situation. And most of the time there's at least one person that kind of tries to be kind of friendly. And obviously people understand you're away from home most of the time, and you're new to the group. So, but again, like they do treat the directors really well. Like I've never, been disrespected or, so, it's a good situation. The big thing with that is that when you come into a show, you just got to be respectful, and you have to like know what you're doing. Like you have to do they don't expect you to answer everything at the beginning, but do your research,
Right.
Study the script, know what the challenge is, talk to people about the challenges, make sure that you can, whatever, if you have questions, ask the questions.
And kind of have more trust in your actors. And
yeah, exactly. You got to
crew.
do your homework,
Right.
like with every job, if you're not prepared, that doesn't last. The patience doesn't last very long when you're not prepared for any job.
Yeah.
So just, you be prepared and don't waste people's time. And I think, and that's usually mostly what they appreciate, is just be cool and don't waste our times and our time. And usually, you do really well with the crews,
So you've worked on Yellow Jackets, which is like a very buzzy show right now, and with
Love that
good
show.
reason, because it is
Yep.
amazing.
It's an amazing show.
Are you going to be directing more episodes of it?
I did the ending of the last show of the first season, and again it was like a first season show. We didn't know, nobody knew that it was going to be a hit or whatever, and but it was a cool show. There was a really good vibe to it. The scripts were very sharp, and I felt like that there was something to it. The cast, like
Cast's amazing.
oh my
Yeah.
god! I mean, it's just a dream come true to work with a lot of those people. And then it was great. I was like, oh my god, it's a success, and everybody loved the episode and the series. I was really happy. And then they asked me back for season 2, but I was already booked. I had a pretty busy fall and early spring, so I just wasn't available, and I was really disappointed when I had to say no to them. And hopefully they bring me in to do something in season 3, because it was just a really good group of people, and the people who run it is this married couple, and they're very, very smart, and like just really, really great to collaborate with. And I was so happy for them, because it was their first show like as showrunners, you know what I mean? And they were really sweating it as most creatives sweat, especially the
Seems
first
like they
year.
know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and they were just really great, and I loved working with them. And so I hope to come back to season 3, but we'll see. I haven't seen season 2 yet, so don't.
I
Yeah, no
finished it
spoilers.
already. I'm the only
Don't
one.
spoil it.
No spoilers.
Fantastic.
That show is great for me because you've got Christina Ricci, you've got
Yes,
Juliette
and
Lewis,
Juliette
you've got
Lewis.
Melanie Linsky, so you have like all of the women in Hollywood that I have crushes on. So
Yes,
it's everyone I'm in love with.
Like I said, it was a cast, a dream come true to work with that cast.
Yeah. So you've worked on, speaking of non-horror stuff, so you've worked on some Dick Wolf shows like FBI and things of that nature. Do you enjoy doing the procedurals?
I've done like a few. I did CSI Las Vegas. I mean, look, they are again, like they're usually I don't watch those shows. Like it's not really meant for me as an audience, and there's so many good shows on, and like whenever I get a show, especially something like FBI that's very successful, and I go back and I watch some episodes. I just kind of see what's going on, because I want to go in there and I want to continue that you know, and I wouldn't say tradition, but it's like, you have
Yeah.
to follow the blueprint of the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to learn it. You're not going to go in there and do crazy things
Yeah.
that, the show is not known for. I mean, you don't have that kind of creative control. And you do want to, put your thing, your kind of touches into it. But again, you're working for the writers, you're working for the showrunners. You want to make something that you want to make the show that they want to see. You know what I mean? So I had a great time shooting the CSI Las Vegas and both of the FBI shows. The second one was in Budapest, and I thought I'd never been there, and it was just really amazing working, in Europe, and it was a crazy experience, walking home from the office and all this history around you, and lived in this apartment, and it was just cool, and again, like, I feel like there's I think sometimes the procedurals get a bad rap, again, because like there is this thing of like, oh, it's a procedural and this, and there's like, they don't get as much respect, I feel, as they deserve. And those are hard shows to do. I mean, not only for the cast and the crew, but also like, the scripts are they have to kind of have a certain rhythm, and you kind of have to keep a lot of plates kind of spinning, and you got to make sure they're not easy shows to do. But again, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the shows, and again, it's like the actors are. It's cool to see people who are like in successful shows still be very cool, with me, and be cool with the crew. And you can tell when, like, the crew really likes the actors, and because you get to know people, and people kind of start telling you like, oh, this person's this, whatever. So it's cool to see like all the main cast of these shows show up and be cool and know their lines and be funny sometimes and not be in a bad mood. It's like, because those, they work really hard on those shows, and they work like for 10 months out of the year sometimes. I mean, it's a really tough, especially for the actors, when you have to learn. Sometimes there's really heavy episodes where your character's in there almost every scene, and it's amazing. It's amazing what they do. It's amazing what actors do. So it's really cool to see like them still enjoying what they do. And luckily, up to this point, I've had pretty good luck where I've like been parts of shows where like everybody still wants to be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then again, I've been part of shows where like something is just soured for some reason, and you can't really put your finger on it, but there is that level of like, oh, we're doing this. So, but luckily, that's not what happens usually. Usually, like I said, people love working, no matter what kind of show it is. People are like there, and they're professional, and they love what they're doing, and I love that. And that's the main thing that I love about television is the you feed off the crew. Is the energy of the crew is always so just so amazing to me, no matter where I am too. It's like, it's a weird thing, because no matter what city I'm at least at this point, like whether it's Canada or the US or Europe or whatever, everybody just has, everybody loves what they're doing, or 99% of the people really love what they're doing, and they show it, which is great.
So I wanted to ask, you worked on American Horror Story, another prestige television show. What is that set like? That show is so bizarre and chaotic, and I just have this idea in my head that it's probably like the most well-oiled machine ever in order to produce that kind of on-screen chaos. Is that right at all?
No, well, I mean, yes. I mean, I worked on American Horror Stories, which was like the spin-off, and that one is like a different show, but it's the same people. They go from show to show, so just about everybody is a part of the the Ryan Murphy world. And it's it's the thing about working with people like Dick Wolf and Ryan Murphy is that there is this level of like, oh my God, you're working with like very important people, and obviously, they're all we're all the same or whatever,
Yeah.
but there is this level of like, just killing it, that there's only a few people that like can say they have the success of Ryan Murphy or Dick Wolf or people like that. So when you work for them, you got to be, you got to bring your A game, and it's just like the American Horror Stories was like so chaotic because it was so ambitious, because like I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was like a little different movie every week.
Mm-hmm.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
then
watched all of them.
they tied it together at the end
Yeah,
of
then
that
they
first
tied it
season.
together.
It all
So
kind of
it's like,
goes.
so in a normal TV show, the cast, the main cast is already there. A lot of the locations, you have the main set where they go to, whether it's the police station or the house or whatever it is. There's a lot of things that are already done, and you still have to bring in the new, the supporting roles, the new actors, this and that. I mean, there's still work to be done, but you're not reinventing the wheel each week. And they were reinventing the wheel each week, and it's just really, really ambitious. But you have this like amazing kind of machine behind you. That's the Ryan Murphy machine.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy's a different kind of machine.
It's a different machine altogether.
That's a big machine too.
Yeah.
But you have this thing behind you, and so you got to be at your top level, and so there is it definitely is a little more stressful than other shows, but again, it's like that's kind of what makes it exciting. And the thing with those kinds of producers and writer producers is like you can't argue with their success. I mean, they must be they must be doing something right. So for me, it's like it's just a learning opportunity to learn and to kind of become better and like just peek a little bit behind the curtain and see what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah. So Josh, I know you had some questions you wanted to ask.
Yeah. I did, and then I misplaced
And
them.
then he forgot. It is late.
Him.
It's late on a weekend.
It is. I did work 12 hours a day, but
We're
I'm
all a little
not trying to come
slow
up with
right now.
excuses because I know you work longer than that. No, I basically just been listening. I've been really fascinated with, just behind the scenes kind of things. And I've never really paid attention to directors on TV shows. I think I should probably do more of that.
Yes.
Because it sounds
Yes.
like, you just kind of drop in, do your magic, and then leave. And that sounds great.
It is great. And you actually like when you start, getting into it, and I've been at it almost 10 years now, you start to like know, you learn the other directors, and you can follow, like if you start following television directors, you see the shows and you kind of see, I mean, there's, obviously we all want to do Yellow Jackets every week, every job. But that's not always the case for anybody. But again, you start to see like there is this, there's just these people that are just doing amazing work. And again, like you were saying, you don't even know any of their names, you know what I mean? But they're the ones, we're the ones bringing this, and the same thing with the crews. There's people working, 12, 13, 14, 16-hour days sometimes to bring, the rest of us, entertainment. And, it is, it's humbling, you know what I mean? When the amount of work it takes to make a TV show is crazy. It's almost like impossible, you know what I'm saying? And but and that's what amazes me about their energy, is that they are like some of the hardest working people that I've ever met. They're away from their families more than they are. I mean, they work more than they're with their families. I mean, these people, most of the time you're doing 60, 70-hour weeks. And and they still love it. You expect everybody to be disgruntled and be like, the hell with you, whatever, I'm not gonna, whatever. But everybody brings their A game, and there's always this enthusiasm that I find really admirable, and again, it energizes me every time.
So I have a friend who works in television. Used to work in movies, but mostly television now. And he started out as a stuntman. Did that a couple of years. Got an injury, couldn't do it. But he had met a lot of the guys that were building sets, doing the construction, and so they were like, "Hey, come work with us." He started doing that, and now he's a prop master. He was
Nice.
on Ozark. He's worked on The Walking Dead. He worked for Tyler Perry's company for a while across several different movies. And yeah, he talks about he works just absolutely insane days, just crazy schedules. But then you get done with that season of the show or that movie, and then you have some time off. And he said it's a real camaraderie because he works with the same people. Like on Ozark, he'd work with the same people that were on the crew with him. And then on the next show, be a lot of the same people because
Yeah.
they hire a construction coordinator, and he's going to hire the construction guys that he likes to work with, and such and such. And so they become like a little family going from show to show. And I mean, it
Oh
sounds like
yeah.
a lot of hard work at every level, but it also sounds really rewarding.
No, I mean, look, it is, and I think that, like, like you were saying, your friend is obviously Atlanta based because all
Yeah.
those shows are Atlanta. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's like it's really cool. I mean, like like now I've gotten to a point where like there's usually somebody I know on each of the sets, that I work at. There's
Yeah.
usually one or two people that I know,
Yeah.
and it's cool. And again, it's like you're absolutely right. Like I mean, Supernatural was like the one that like kind of stood out to me, and also Queen of the South because I was with them for 4 years, and I directed a bunch of episodes for them. And I directed the last episode of the show, ever, like the show finale.
Hmm.
But on Supernatural, there was this, they were a family. I mean, some of those people had been there from the very beginning, and
Yeah.
15-year jobs in Hollywood don't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever anywhere for 15 years. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so rare. And there are some people like, Jerry, the production designer, and Serge, the DP, they were there for all of 15 years, and, like I did an episode in the last season, but I think I did like the fifth. I think there was 4 more episodes after I finished. And you could tell that there was this like, everybody knew it was coming to an end.
Yeah.
And on my couple last days, there was a lot of, because I had been there, 4 times before. I did 5 episodes for Supernatural, and again, every time I got there, it was like, "Hey, Ed's back," and it was like a family, And I loved my times on those shows, and the same thing with Queen of the South. You're doing the last. Like I remember doing the last shot of the show, and it was me and the DP, Abe, who had been working. He had been there since the beginning also. And we're on top of this thing, and we did like this little pan, this tilt up from the thing to the sky. And that was the last shot of Queen of the South. I mean, and we looked at each other and we're like, that's it, and everybody started yelling. And, and it's just tears. It's just bittersweet, because you spend so much time with these people, and you get, really, really, you like I said earlier, it's like you spend more time with these people than you spend with your family. And I really admire that sacrifice,
Awesome. So Lydia,
Yes.
what questions did you have for Mr. Sanchez?
I have one. First of all, when I was researching for this episode, I discovered that we share a birthday. So December 20th, that's my birthday.
Wow, that's
Yeah, I
cool.
thought that was really cool. But no,
Same
my
year
question,
too, right?
No, not same year, unfortunately.
Well, it was the December 20 thing is crazy because like
I don't know anybody with that birthday, actually.
really, I know
Yeah.
so many people, like even on, like I did a movie called Altered,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
and I was December 20th. Jamie Nash, the writer who I work with, like repeatedly. He wrote Seventh Moon with me and Lovely Molly and Exist.
I love Lovely
Yes,
Molly.
Lovely Molly
Oh,
is
thanks.
an
Love that.
absolutely amazing film.
He was born December 20th, and my producer Robin Cowie was born December 20th. So, and we were about to do a movie with another writer that was also born December 20th. So, there's an abundance of December 20th people in my life, and it's just crazy.
Cool.
But yeah, nice to share that birthday with you.
Right. Okay. So my question is, and kind of going back to Blair Witch, I had read a long time ago. I don't know where I read it, but I'm really into paranormal and cryptozoology, you know, Bigfoot and all that. I was wondering if anything happened paranormal while you guys were shooting Blair Witch that wasn't you guys.
Right, yeah, because we were the witch.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, nothing. I don't think we had any kind of weird, like a real appearance or any kind of
Sure,
presence
like the Holy
or anything.
Grail, you know, but
No, but there was a time when I was in the house at the end of the movie, and it was a few weeks before we started shooting, and I was there doing some thing, and there was a bunch of people there, and we were busy, taking notes and coming up with shots and this and that. What we need to do, we need to prepare the steps, and we need to cut get the graffiti out and this and that. And I was downstairs, like just trying to figure out where it was going to end and what we were, because we didn't know what the ending of the movie was going to be at that point. We knew it was going to be something was going to happen in the cellar, but we didn't know what. Right. So I was looking around, trying to whatever, and I realized that it's really quiet. And first of all, it's getting dark. Like we were there at the end of the day, it's getting dark. And I realized that I'm the only one in the house. Like there's nobody, I can't hear anybody above me. And there was this level of like panic that I hadn't felt. Only a few times in my life have I felt that kind of panic. Just, and I don't know if it was something in the house but I ran out of there and the people I was with were they were already down the hill, and I just ran as fast as I could to meet up with them. And what's funny is that, and I just made this connection a few weeks ago when I was on another podcast, is that the only other time that I remember that I was not a kid where I felt that kind of fear was I was editing Blair Witch Project by myself at like 2 a.m. in our old office building in Orlando, and I was editing the damn house scene, and I was just distracted editing the movie and this and that, and all of a sudden I just started like watching the footage and hearing like just that there's no just the creepiness of their voices and like just the light, and within like 10 seconds, again, I felt that same dread that I felt in the basement of that house. And so I turned off the computers. Like within 30 seconds, I was running to my car, like locked up the office and went to my car. And it was funny because I hadn't connected that there was the same type of fear in the same location.
It's almost like somebody's watching you, or their presence is there, or something like that.
Something about that, something about that house connects something in my brain that leads to like the just get the hell out of there.
Right. You got a little payback from the audience that you caused so much fear, me at least, because that movie terrified me and I loved it so much.
Yeah, it's a creepy movie.
Yeah.
Awesome. Joey, you had something you mentioned you wanted to ask?
Yeah, I got a couple things, and one of them was actually about that house because it was just creepy. How did you discover that house and decided to use that for the shoot?
It was, we were shooting in Maryland. We knew we were going to shoot in a certain area, and I started like, people started giving me addresses for like just houses in the middle of nowhere and this and that, and so I just went and looked at dilapidated houses all over Maryland, and the original idea for the Blair Witch back in like the early 90s was this idea of like the documentary team finding a house and going into the house, and the house has pentagrams all over it, and like, back when we came up with the idea, there was like going to be like mutilated bodies, and just basically like a hell house, this.
Mhm.
And we knew that, and we were like, oh my God, imagine if you're in this, you're in the audience and you're stuck with the camera, and the camera sees a door at the end of the hallway, and you go down this door, this creepy stairwell, and something happened. Again, we didn't know what the hell was going to happen in that basement, but we knew that we wanted the movie to end in a basement. So we were looking for these multi-level houses with like at least a safe kind of halfway safe basement, because the problem with dilapidated houses is that they're really unsafe, so you don't want to bring a crew in there. So it was that there was like this balance of like finding the right house, and also finding that it wasn't like so run down that it would have been completely dangerous to bring anybody in there, and completely irresponsible. And I remember when we found this house, we were it was me and Matt Compton. He was one of those guys that was just helping us find, and we went out there, and we were walking around, and it was the middle of the summer, and we're like, we couldn't find the house. They was like, okay, go to this fence, and then you'll see it on the right, and we couldn't see it, and we were about to leave, and I don't know if it was me or him, we spotted something. We're like, what is that? So we went, and as soon as I saw the house, I was like, okay, this is it. If this house is safe, then, or safe enough, this is where we're gonna shoot. And it was just, again, it like creeped me out, and Matt and I went inside, and we saw the cellar, and we're like, okay, this is work. And then so we just took a bunch of photos and sent it back to Dan and Greg, who were in Orlando. But again, it was just really, and honestly, we hadn't really found anything even close to what we wanted before we found that house. So it was just another kind of fortunate, occurrence. And also the fact that like it was on state park property. So like, and the fact that they let us shoot in that house is just, I still don't understand how we got permission to shoot there.
Isn't it like a
Yeah,
an
I would
historical
imagine that would
site?
have been difficult.
The what?
I was gonna say, I thought I read, isn't that house an historic site or something? Like,
No. I mean, look,
okay.
it was built. It was like, I guess, built in the early 1900s, but it was just basically abandoned. Like there was no historical.
Okay.
And then so we shot the movie there, and then a few years later they knocked it down because there was just too many visitors, and people were like, and it was a dangerous place to be. But it was, it was just, again, like an instant creepy feeling that was just palpable. You know what I mean? And I think that like, and when we wanted like to keep the actors, we didn't want to show the actors that house until the minute that they showed up there. So like when Mike says, holy shit, it's a house, that's the first time Mike Williams has seen that house. So there was their nerves were frayed by that time.
Yeah, and I was gonna kind of on that subject. A lot of the reactions, if I read right, are just genuine reaction because you guys were in the woods making the noises, and then they were just kind of reacting to that.
Yeah, I mean, it was like 24-hour a day improv, for the actors, and for us, as like the supporting crew, it was literally like shooting a movie 24 hours a day. Obviously, the actors were shooting the movie for us, so it was a little, it opened us a little bit up to, to what we could do. But yeah, we played the Blair Witch. We would go, do some stuff during the day, do prep, do whatever, figure out where we're gonna go, and get things ready for them. And then at night, like at 11 at night, we'd be like, all right, let's start heading out to the woods, and we would go out there and get in our camouflage and walk out to their campsite, like after midnight, and make sure they were all asleep, and then start making noises, and they slowly wake up and then make some more noises and this and that or whatever. And we just kept doing that. And, so we played the Blair Witch. So it was a really weird thing, because we would go out there, and then after they were done with the scene, we would walk home, and sometimes it was like 2 a.m, and we were just like, what the hell are we doing?
Well,
what kind of movie
you.
are we shooting? Like, what is this? It's ridiculous.
And
Obviously that formula works for you, though. I mean,
It was an experiment that, luckily worked for us, but it could have gone south very easily.
And kind of last thing I want to say is more of a statement. To this day, the marketing, the promotion behind the Blair Witch Project was hands down the most brilliant marketing ever. And some people probably still believe that was actually real, because it was promoted being real. And if I remember right, the actors weren't even allowed to do press tours afterwards to keep the authenticity of it.
Yeah. No, it was crazy, because it was like we didn't have any money, and this is like 1998. The internet was like just a fraction of what it is today, and but we knew we were all kind of web savvy. I had built some websites in my previous job, so we were like, let's just build a website and see what happens, and and we treated it as like a real documentary, and people just loved it. Just like really got into the idea of like this.
Totally. I was so obsessed. Obsessed of trying to find out if this was real. You have no idea. I was like, is this real? I need to know.
Yeah, and it was the perfect time, for the internet, because it was like, it was just big enough to like spread the misinformation, but it wasn't big enough to like to say, oh, these guys didn't go to Montgomery College, and look at their Facebook page. Like there wasn't any of that.
Yeah.
No,
So you could lie easier back in those days.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't, you couldn't be confirmed. And we had a there was a detective that called us. I don't know. I think it was before the movie was released. We had the website up and stuff like that, and the guy was like, I've just spent, the last couple of weeks trying to find information about this. I couldn't find any newspaper articles. I couldn't find that there were students at Montgomery College, and we were like, well, it's all bull, man. It's all crap. It's all a bunch of lies. And he was like, what? So and I think that like a lot of people just really dug the idea of like being, I mean, it was obvious marketing, but it was it was fun,
Right, but it was fun. Yes.
Yeah, it was fun.
Well, and it was new. I mean, who had thought of using the internet for what we now would call viral marketing? You guys kind of invented it.
Yeah, I mean, we did, we did a lot of stuff before anybody else did it, and it was just because we had no money.
Yeah.
Well,
So it was just like, all right, how do you do this? Oh, why don't we do this? And also, we got really lucky. Again, like Blair Witch was just like serendipity every step of the way. And we got lucky because, one of a guy named Jeff Johnson lived in Los Angeles or San Diego, and he really he loved the website. And he got on to like a morning show in LA and was like, you guys got, one of the biggest morning shows at the time in LA. And he was like, you guys got to check this out. Have you guys seen BlairWitch.com and this and that? And the guys actually went on the site, on air, and we blew up that day. And that's really what started spreading it all over. Before the movie was even done, we were still editing the movie. So, and then once Artisan, bought the movie, they were like, what other ideas do you have? And we're like, well, what about this? And we could do this and that. And also we were very fortunate that Artisan was very open to collaborating, and also that they were open to like breaking some rules. you
Right.
know, like fudging the truth a little bit. They were open to that. Where like if we would have ended up somewhere else, they would have been like, we can't tell people this is real. Um, so and they were very cool, and they got the movie. That was the biggest thing about
Right.
the artisan, is that they really understood the movie.
Well, and found footage movies, they weren't necessarily new at that time. It had been done before.
Yeah, Cannibal Holocaust, that kind
But
of thing. Yeah.
to me, Blair Witch Project really made the found footage genre mainstream. And in my opinion, all the found footage movies we have today, in my opinion, wouldn't exist if not for the Blair Witch Project, because Blair Witch Project just blew that genre up.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. It paved
Yeah.
the way for Paranormal Activity and all those
Cloverfield.
kind of,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was, again, I never imagined as a kid wanting to make films that, one of my films was going to be as influential as any, you don't think that as a kid, but
Right.
I just feel very blessed that I was a part of it, and that, I'm talking to you guys right now because of this movie, and I have a TV career because of this movie, and I was able to like live my, it's given me so much in my life, and I feel so grateful to be a part of it. And that's why, like, I think a lot of people ask me, like, are you sick or tired of talking about Blair Witch? And I'm like, man, if people want to talk to me about Blair Witch, a movie I made, 25, 26 years ago, why would I not want to talk to them about it? You know what I mean? Like, if you're really interested, of course I'm going to talk to you about it. So, again, I just feel really fortunate that I was a part of it, and that all this, it was like this kind of a weird phenomenon, and I was just as amazed by the success as anybody else, and again, I feel very lucky, knock on wood, that that I was a part of this, and it continues to bless me. Let me just say that.
I like that. That is an amazing attitude, by the way.
Yeah.
I really like that. So what's next? What's on the horizon? What shows are you going to be working on? Is there a new movie coming?
Well, there is. I mean, the I stepped away from movies because, again, like I've talked to you guys about how long it takes to make indie movies.
Yeah.
The idea that like I was, it just burns you out. And I lucked out again. I got this opportunity to direct for Robert Rodriguez on Dusk Till Dawn, the TV show, and
Yeah.
that was the first thing I had ever done on television, and I was like, whoa! Like I just, he just threw me in the deep end, like, and I'm grateful to him for that. And then I was able to like, somehow work that into a television directing career, which is, it's a tough thing to do right now. It's very competitive, and I'm very grateful that I'm there. But since I've been doing television, there has been some interest. People send me scripts, and my agent gets scripts from me. So I'm always reading scripts. There's a script right now that is called Conception, and that's really all I can say about it. But it's we just went out to an actress to play the lead, and we're looking to hear back from her, and we're going out to other actors, and it's supposed to shoot this fall in London. So I'm very excited about shooting there, and hopefully, it's not fully financed yet. It's all cast dependent, so it's always a gamble. But I am excited about it, and there's a couple of other movies that I've been associated with here and there that are kind of moving forward. So there's always a movie. I'm always working on some movie. It's just the timing hasn't worked out. But so far, but basically for now, for television, we're all kind of in a holding pattern right now because of the WGA strike, and we all want to be, united, trying to make sure. I'm a member of the WGA too, so I respect where they're coming from, and they definitely are justified to ask for what they want. So I'm on hold right now, but I have later this month, I think June 29th, my episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
I knew that was coming.
Goes. I guess it's not doesn't really air anymore. I guess it
Yeah.
goes live or whatever
Yeah.
they call.
Drops. The kids say it drops. The new episode drops.
June
Yeah.
29th.
Yeah.
And then I have another show that I'm very excited about that I did last year called The Horror of Dolores Roach. And it's a show for Blumhouse that Amazon, it's on Amazon Prime. And it was a podcast. It was a really cool really dark podcast. And it's a really dark but funny, Justina Machada is the star of it, and it was cool. I did the last 2 episodes of this first season, and it's one of those shows, kind of like Yellow Jackets, where you're like, it seems like it's gonna work, but you never know.
Yeah.
Right.
Even nobody knows whether something's gonna hit, but it has I'm like, this thing has potential to be like really loved by people. And again, Justina is just an amazing actress, and she has great energy, and all the supporting crew, the roles were, the supporting actors were great. Cyndi Lauper is in it for a few episodes before my episode, but so it's kind of a quirky little show. It takes place in New York, and it's cool. So that's coming out. I don't know yet, but it's going to come out sometime later this summer.
I'll be
and
looking
then the
for
rest
that.
of it is just I'm waiting for my next job. Like I said, I told you guys earlier on, like I was supposed to be in LA right now, shooting a show called Hysteria for Peacock, and but from, it got postponed a little bit, pushed because of the writer's strike. So I'm kind of on a holding pattern right now, and just trying to fix things around my house and just get all of try to get as much done before I got to leave on my next gig. But I'm trying to enjoy my summer with my family is the big thing I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Good. I want to thank you so much for coming to speak with us. Honestly, you're an absolute legend. In this house, we support the Blair Witch Project, and we stan a legend. So, yeah, you're an
I
absolute
appreciate
legend.
it. I mean, it was, thanks for having me. I don't know about the legend part, but it was fun. Thanks for having me, and invite me back. Whenever you can.
Oh yes, 100%.
for
If you're willing to
sure.
come back, we will have you on. Yes. This was awesome.
Thank you so much for coming
Yes.
on.
Yes, thank you.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you so much. So, for all 18 of you at home watching, this has been Bloodfest the podcast. Be sure to follow us on Facebook. We are Bloodfest Pod. Twitter, it's at Bloodfest Pod. Bloodfest Podcast on YouTube. Bloodfest the Podcast on TikTok. Bloodfest the Podcast on Instagram. We're on Pinterest. I think we're still on MySpace. And somehow we got painted on a billboard in Tupelo, Mississippi. Not sure how that happened, but you can follow us wherever you want. Until next time, this is Nate saying catchphrase.